the live stream going. And I'm going to hit record if you don't mind calling us to order at 7:03.
So I don't even know how to call to order, but the meeting of the Edina Energy and Environment Commission on February 10th. Do we take a roll call?
Yes, the first thing we will do is a roll call. So let me get that popped open. All right, Commissioner DeCane.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Haugen.
Here.
Commissioner Haran.
Here.
Commissioner Lanzis.
Here.
Commissioner Hovanek. Commissioner Lukens.
Here.
Commissioner Tessman.
Here.
Chair Martinez. Commissioner Rabat.
Here.
Commissioner Shumway.
Here.
Great. Roll call is complete. Oh, and Michelle, I think you're on mute.
Okay.
But we can hear you now.
Okay, so the next.
And Terry joined as well.
Oh, hi, Terry. Great.
Hey.
Hey, Terry. Okay, so the next part of the agenda, which actually I just realized, I'll head up. Is it the approval of the agenda?
So we just need a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So roll call.
All right, Commissioner Haugen. Commissioner Haugen.
Aye.
Commissioner Haran. Commissioner Lanzis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hovanek.
Aye.
Commissioner Lukens.
Aye.
Commissioner Tessman.
Aye.
Commissioner DeCane. Commissioner.
Yeah, aye. Sorry, I was muted. Aye.
No worries. Great. Okay.
So next on the order is the approval of the minutes. Is there any questions or additions, or do we just do approval or a roll call?
We'll have a motion and a second to approve.
Okay,
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
A second.
Roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Haugen.
Aye.
Commissioner Haran.
Aye.
Commissioner Lanzis. Commissioner Lanzis.
Aye. Aye. Sorry.
No worries. Commissioner Hovanek.
Aye.
Commissioner Lukens.
Aye.
Commissioner Tessman. And Commissioner DeCane.
Aye.
And Chair Martinez. Okay, the ayes have it.
So now we have a special presentation from Luther, our forestry guy.
Yeah, Luther, take it away.
All right. Hope you can all hear me. I was having some issues too. I can't get it on my computer, but I'm on my phone, and I think that should work just as well. So I did have the chance to speak with Hilda a couple weeks ago about some of the initiatives you guys have, and I think it's kind of, I don't know, everything's kind of starting to coincide together with our climate action plan, and trees and all of that. I met earlier this week with the Transportation Commission. I think I'm going to be meeting with the Planning Commission as well. And just after meeting with them, with the Transportation Commission, I think it'd be great for all of you to meet together at some point. But one of the main things I was talking about with Hilda was our current tree protection plan. And so that is in effect for any building permit that's pulled here in the city now. I review the tree plan for all new construction, additions, patios, pools, retaining walls for commercial and residential permits. And that's been in effect now for 5 years. And I think, you know, with the climate action plan and everything else going on, it's time to, you know, review that. And so I was hoping to, you know, come discuss that with you guys, answer any questions you have about my current ordinance. I've got a couple areas that I'd love to see changed with that current ordinance to, you know, help strengthen it and help, you know, better protect the trees here in Edina. Currently, the biggest complaints I get and issues that I, you know, myself see with our ordinance is, you know, it's not strong enough. It's better than what we had before, which was nothing. But I'd love to see something for legacy or heritage trees, some way to better preserve, you know, large caliper trees that are already existing on these sites. Currently, with our ordinance, you can cut down every single tree on your property if you so wish. And you only have to, you know, replace them with a 2.5-inch caliper replacement tree for deciduous trees and a 7-foot tall replacement tree for coniferous trees. There's a bunch of, I guess, you know, opt-outs based on species, and then if it's, you know, within 10 feet of the building footprint or 5 feet of a hard surface, they can be removed without replacement. So that's one of the biggest complaints I get, is that, you know, people are cutting down large trees and don't have to, you know, replace them, or if they do, they're only with very small caliper trees. The next is currently my ordinance only takes into account the property that is being constructed on, or where the address that the permit's being pulled at. There are no considerations for neighboring properties. And now with lots of the builds that are going on, none of the houses are getting smaller. They're all getting bigger. On some of the lots we have here in the city, they have shoring out from property line to property line. And that's where they have to, you know, dig down, put in kind of safety bracing to, you know, dig in basements. And when they're doing that, they're affecting the neighbors' trees. And currently my ordinance has no protection for those neighbors at all. You know, sometimes some of the builders, they're willing to be neighborly, and they will, you know, consider the neighbors' trees. They'll put up tree protection fencing around them, try and protect the trees. In other cases where the trees can't be preserved, you know, they'll, at their cost, they'll remove the tree, and at their cost, they will replace the tree. That's just them, you know, being nice. They're, you know, some of them, you know, they won't do that. I try and intervene, you know, as much as I can and help, you know, the neighbors. But with our current ordinance requirement, and so I receive. And then the last one is, currently there is a buyout option, and so if you don't have the space to plant replacement,
You're good. All right.
or have, or if you don't want to plant those trees, you can buy out. And for now, that's currently at the same rate that I have for my tree donation program for the city. And so it's only $350, which is, you know, very cheap. And, you know, as of now, it's literally me going out, sourcing, planting those trees in our parks, you know, for the builders. And so I'd love to see that price, you know, upped to, you know, closer to $1,000, and maybe at a graduated scale where your first tree's $1,000, the second's $2,000, the next is, you know, $5,000, and, you know, so on and so forth, to try and deter the builders from doing that. And then, you know, if we do that, instead of me going out and, you know, sourcing those trees, buying them myself, digging the holes, planting them, I would just have a contractor with a tree spade, you know, plant those trees. And so just make my, you know, job a lot easier. And so I
Hey, Luther, can you clarify the buyout thing? Is that so anyone can basically just pay $350 and get out of the whole thing per tree? Is that right?
Correct. Yep. And so that was the clause. You know, it's, if you read I think my ordinance is about 10 pages right now or so, And there's a part on there where it's like, because some of the lots, they literally are, the sizes of the houses, there is no space to plant a tree. If you're building your house, to the current setbacks that are allowed, and then if you have some other mitigation required for like a rain garden or something, on some of these lots, they're so small that there literally there's no space to plant a tree. And so that was the original intention of the buyout. But now, some of the builders, know about it, and they will just opt for the buyout as opposed to, planting trees on their site, because my buyout is cheaper than them getting the tree planted with their landscape company. But yeah, no, I was going to say, if there's any on, the current tree protection ordinance, I'd be more than happy to answer, those at this time. Otherwise, I can, kind of our weed ordinance, I think, was the other thing I was looking to talk to you guys about tonight as well.
And before we hop into questions, although Tom, I see your hand, I do want to welcome Chair Martinez to the conversation. And I think, Hilda, you're the lead on this initiative around tree management. So if you want to say anything before we get into questions, you're welcome to.
Yeah, sorry. I had some technical issues. I guess Luther, I guess he presented what I already talked with him. So one of the things, I don't know if he mentioned what we agreed that we can help him, was like trying to find best practices that can help him, and trying to increase the cost of the tree reparation, right? Well, or the substitution, because right now, as he just mentioned, the developer just pay their way out, and it's for them, it's very cheap. So we want to find ways what other cities, maybe in the East Coast or in the West Coast, are doing, similar to the size of Edina, and try to, well, amend the actual, I forgot the ordinance. So I think that's one of the things we agree. I don't know if I'm sorry I arrived late, so I don't know if you have covered the rest, but there are some other things regarding also loan and also oh my God, I forgot the other ones. The ones that Michelle is helping out, pollinator part. So basically, we want to bring information to Luther so he can have the basis to maybe amend the ordinance. I don't know if I cover some of what you already say, Luther, but yeah, that's what we discussed.
Thanks, Chair Martinez. Yeah, we only talked about trees so far. We haven't touched on pollinators or lawn stuff. Tom, you had a question?
I did. Hey, Luther, thank you for that. Good to see you. So just to clarify, when you were chatting, you were talking about people and primarily residents. What's the ordinance or kind of the current point of view by the city when it comes to commercial development, multi-unit development, large nonprofit churches bulldozing trees at will, that kind of stuff? Speak to that a little bit.
So same thing. Before 5 years ago, I had no ordinance for any commercial redevelopment, at either. And so same thing. If you own the property, you can do with it as you wish. You could cut down, and we had zero requirements. And so with that, 5 years ago, my residential ordinance came about. I also have a commercial tree ordinance. The commercial one, I think, does work itself out a little better. And so with that, there's a graduated scale of trees and tree sizes that are required to be replaced. Same thing. It's another longer ordinance, but basically, for commercial redevelopment, we take the perimeter of the lot, divide it by 40. And then based on that is the number of required trees that they have to plant. Based on, there's two separate caveats. So based on height, I think it's if they're under 2 stories, it's like 20% of the trees have to be 5.5-inch caliper, 20% have to be 4.5-inch, 20% 2.5 inch, or 3.5 inch, 20% 2.5 inch, and then the rest can be, anything under that. If they're over 2 stories, 25% have to be 5.5 inch, 25 4.5 inch, and then 24 3.5, 24 2.5, and then the rest can be, a mix of that. They are given credit for any trees that they do protect or that remain on the site. And honestly, the majority of the time that doesn't happen. They're having to put in all new trees, because still the same thing for, all the builders. It's easier to build when there's no trees in the way. And so, if they have the choice, they will cut down, every tree and start from scratch. But I like that ordinance, a little more, because it does have that size differentiation, and those larger size trees, which, once you get to that 5.5 inch mark, like, it's hard to find bald and burlap trees that are that size. And so the majority of those trees have to be spaded in, which I would prefer. And I like seeing those trees have a much better survival rate, and, they do much better. And so the commercial ordinance, I think, does work itself out a little better than the residential. And two, I'd say we have far more residential redevelopment going on than commercial. And the majority of the complaints that I receive from residents are on residential.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Terry. Oh,
I just was doing a little research while you're talking, because I was kind of thinking that the tree replacement thing would kind of go along the same way that like a wetland credit would, where you're having to buy a wetland credit just to compensate for taking out a wetland. And I kind of looked up the cost on that, and it looks like you're probably paying about twice to 2.5 times more the cost of installing the tree to buy the wetland credit. And I guess I'm saying that as kind of maybe using your rationalization of, if it's going to cost $500 for the builder to put in a tree, then you should charge them 2.5 times that for you to do it for them. So I think even your $1,000 a tree might be a little bit light in cost. Because
and it's like I said, that's one of the things that I'm looking at, and I don't know, where, put that pay scale, but I'd love to try and deter them. I'd love it to be, $10,000 a tree.
Well, I guess I'm just going by this for lack of anything else, but yeah, I think that's the whole purpose of like the wetland credit, is you have to make it a little bit painful for them, so that's the last resort. And I understand sometimes you just can't put the tree in, there's no room, or it's going to hurt something else, but it has to be a little bit more painful than $350. To them, that's probably a good deal. Yeah, I'll have you come put a bunch of trees in my backyard for that.
Exactly.
Michelle.
We had the tree forum, and you sent us the link, and I apologize, I didn't rewatch it, but I did listen to it the first time. And I don't have all the details, but just with all the people that were on the panel, because there were a couple city people, did anybody take any of those ideas and think that could be applicable to the city? And have any of them, were you a part of that conversation, Luther? I don't see the whole panel, I wasn't able to watch, but instead of there was a lot of good information thrown out there. So I was just wondering, has anybody taken some of that and seen it as possibilities for here?
I don't I guess as far as to my knowledge, no, we haven't done anything formally, but it's, I think lots of the stuff they were hitting on are, kind of in the areas that I'm, looking at, where I'd like to see some change. And then, the other big issue for me is it's just me doing all of this. The building department, they have 10 building inspectors that, split up all these projects. I'm the only one doing the building plan review for the tree protection for every single permit that goes through the city, plus everything else I've got, going on. And so I just don't have the time to, right now properly enforce, this ordinance. And, if I had more time, I'd be out there, tagging these guys a lot more for violations. And, now the way it is, I do it on a complaint basis. And then, same thing when I drive by a site and they have, dirt up, 2 feet or more around the base of a tree, I slam on my brakes when I see that, because that just is such a pet peeve of mine, and, ticks me off that I'm willing to go there, write them up. And, right now my process is, when I see a violation, I have to go there. I have to I'll inform everyone on site, and then I have to email whoever the name is on the building permit. I give them 72 hours to correct it. I go back out after 72 hours. If it is not corrected, I then issue a stop work order. That's usually where I finally get their attention, when I issue a stop work order, because I'm kicking everyone off site and making them leave until my issues are corrected. And then, once that happens, I'm usually getting a call from the builder, and less than an hour after that and stuff. But a lot of the time I don't have time to be going and doing this and formally notifying them and writing them up and then chasing them 72 hours after. And so that's kind of the other part of it, is that there's only one of me and I can only do so much.
And if I can follow up briefly on Luther's point and your question, Michelle, I recall from the tree forum that there was nothing taken off the table by, I think Councilmember Jackson attended, City Manager Neal attended, and a lot of staff attended, and no one heard anything that we said that's not possible in Edina. So think about it that way.
So then, so Luther, then are you looking for us to kind of come up with those ways to really beef up what we already have and then propose it to you? Because clearly you don't even have enough time, but like, is that what would be most helpful?
So I would love for you guys to, I guess, work with me and help me come up with the new changes for the ordinance to propose to council to get approved, like as soon as possible. And then, to the majority of, what I am doing now currently with the ordinance is like everything is switched to online. And so it's all, you have to upload stuff into Project Docs. That's like our system where we keep all of the records of every permit. And like, I think, a lot of this stuff, if I beef up the ordinance, I can catch ahead of time when I'm just doing stuff in the project review. And, I'm, looking at the trees that they're cutting down. And, if we make it harder for them or more expensive for them to cut those trees down, I think that'll stop a lot of it. A lot of the time, the trees they're cutting down, they could easily work around. It'd be very simple. They're far, out of the way of the building footprint, but still, the mentality of the builders is, cut them down because they'll be in the way of their stockpile or something else. And, on some of the smaller, so yeah, obviously there are some smaller lots that say between, France and Xerxes, all of those houses there, like, yeah, there's not a lot of space, but the majority of the other, properties, they could easily work around the trees, but they just choose not to because it's easier, and they only have to put in, a small 2.5-inch caliper tree to make up for the, large trees that they're removing. And so I'd love, just, for you guys to present something to council to get approved and passed through council to change that ordinance and beef it up. I've heard that, I will be getting a full-time assistant supposedly sometime this year. I don't know when or, that'll exactly be happening. So I am, kind of looking forward to getting some help. But I think in the meantime, it's, starting to get some of these changes implemented. And I think they definitely align with our climate action plan. And I'd much rather preserve the current canopy that we have as opposed to trying to replant it. The amount of benefits we're receiving from those mature large trees compared to a new seedling or sapling that I'm planting are, they're much higher. And so, try and, start to protect those trees as best we can in order to deter and, try and stop people from wanting to remove them and cut them down. East Coast, West Coast, down in Texas, they have legacy tree ordinances where it costs like $60,000 to cut down a 100-year-old oak tree. And so some of them, they're paying, companies that'll, move those trees, and they'll literally use an air blade, cut out a 30-foot trench around the tree, put it in a big diaper, roll the tree down the street and go plant it in a city park, because that's cheaper than cutting down the tree with the fines and penalties that the city imposes on them for cutting those trees down. And I don't think we're there yet, but, that's what other cities, like California, Vermont, Maine, and like Texas, those are some of like the stringent ordinances they have to preserve these trees because of the benefit that they offer, to the entire city. And that tree, the benefits it offers, it's in my view, it's benefiting everyone in the city, not just that particular landowner.
And Michelle, to your point about what is the EEC's role, a reminder on the work plan, the deliverable is to review the ordinances and make a recommendation to council on either a new ordinance or an amendment. So in that case, EEC would craft the ordinance and present it to council. Staff led by Luther would probably write an accompanying staff memo in support, very similar to how we manage the to-go packaging ordinance.
Great. I have a comment on that. I understand that what we were gonna do, but I have the doubt now, is that we were gonna help out to get this information that Luther needs. Like he wants to work in these heritage trees, in the building codes, in the neighboring trees. So we were gonna bring him, like try to get the best practice from different cities that can help him build the ordinance. That was my understanding, not that we were gonna build the ordinance or amend. So I have a doubt that which one is it? Certainly we can do the ordinance, but I thought it was only like trying to bring best practices and help him out, but
It might be a little bit up to you all to decide, because the initiative says support new ordinance development, and then the deliverable is a review and recommend to council. So the EEC will present something to council. It might be a report of best practices that you recommend the city turn into an ordinance, or it might be an ordinance.
Yeah, the
So-
aim, I agree that the aim is to eventually change the ordinance, but the thing is that initiative is very broad, because it doesn't only focus on trees. We are trying to do something on the lawn part and on the pollinators. So I guess with all of them, we will try to eventually come to an ordinance. But I guess the first thing that we need to do is have the information that will be useful for Luther, and eventually with that develop or amend the ordinance. That will be my first step, and second regarding trees.
Yep. I think that would fulfill the initiative. Michelle?
Also, so if it sounds like, Luther, you don't have the capacity to kind of monitor like our current ordinance. So is there a way to add or ask for more staff? I know you're going to get hopefully another person, but if it's that's like a Green Corps person, which isn't permanent, is there a way to ask council to commit more staff towards that? Is there anything that we can do to give him some assistance? Because again, we can have a bunch of ordinances, but if there's nobody there to reinforce them, it doesn't help in the long run.
That would probably be part of whatever report the EEC presents to council, is if you're pulling best practices from other urban forestry departments around the country, it might bear mentioning how many staff are in those urban forestry departments, for instance, so they have a sense of comparison.
How this works. Is it something, Luther, that where you would have, like, for instance, parts of that would be kind of the responsibility of other departments, like for instance, the zoning or planning, where part of their review would include something that helps you out? Or am I totally off and thinking that could happen?
I guess I don't know. That's a possibility. Right now I work a lot with Addison. He's our residential redevelopment coordinator. And so his position was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I think, just to deal with all of the redevelopment going on in the city. And so he's kind of the liaison between builders for any complaint have that sign in front of your build. It's the builder's numbers on there, and then
Yeah.
there's a city number is Addison's number, and so he gets like a lot of those complaints, and so he's out there for erosion control and for like the erosion control stuff that's over the sewer grates in
Sure.
the street,
Yeah.
damage the street. He's taking photos, so he does help me out with this stuff a lot of time too. He'll be out on site for something and he'll say, hey, I was out here, they didn't have any of the tree fencing up, and then I'll go out there after and we'll kind of double team him, and he'll send his thing for the stuff they're not doing for him. I'll send my email the next day for the stuff they're not doing for me, and we'll kind of get them from both sides as far as enforcement stuff goes. And I think the thing that would be missed and really wouldn't change or make my job more difficult would be that legacy heritage tree amendment, or changing the size caliper requirements of the trees that they have to plant, because I'm going out there at the end of all these for the final, and that's when I'm counting all the trees that they have, making sure that the trees that they were going to protect are still there, and making sure that the replacement trees they need to have are there. For the commercial sites where they have that size differentiation, I'm out there with a caliper. I'm measuring every tree,
Yeah.
and making sure 5.5 inches, not 5, because I'm gonna ding them on that if they're not the right size. And so that's stuff that I'm doing, that I'm I guess passionate enough about and care enough about, that I'm already doing all that. I've been keeping track of all the trees that are planted on every site when I am out there, because a lot of time they're doing the bare minimum, but there are some some cases, and there's some builders that they're planting over 100 trees on these lots when they're landscaping. And so I've started just keeping notes of that myself, just because I know that that's I'm eventually I think that'll be something that I'll be required to do, or the builders will be required to do. But that kind of initial inspection and that end inspection and the final inspection, that's not going to go away no matter what. And so I can kind of catch some of that stuff. It's not as hard, because it's it's at the beginning or the end where I'm having to go out there no matter what, walk the site and see what they've done to give them back their escrow money,
Yeah.
so that the wipe their hands clean of the project and stuff like that.
Is there
So
is there any other any other inspection that's a part of the normal process where they look at the landscaping? Like, could it be part of the site drainage or site
hearing
grading stuff, that inspection that would help you out if it's part of somebody else's responsibility to help you out?
Yeah, definitely, that would help. But I don't want to speak for anyone else, because I know Zuli, she does a lot of that for us, but I'm pretty sure I don't know if Grace, if she's the only one in engineering that does those too.
Yeah, for the most part, unless she's out of town.
Yeah, so same thing. We don't have it's kind of weird how the building stuff works. It's like, I'm the forester, I'm still doing this building plan review, I'm not in the building department.
Yeah.
Zuli's building plan review, she's not in the building department. And so there's only one of us doing that stuff, and so I wouldn't want to put that burden on her at all. Or same thing, Addison, the only residential redevelopment coordinator, I wouldn't want to put that on him. But I don't know if there'd be that'd be something to talk with Dave Fisher, I guess the fire boss, as what their department could handle or start doing.
Yeah, because it might be easier to kind of as you're adding staff, it might be easier if the definition of whose responsibility it is, then you figure out what staff to add. But I don't know who's on this committee. If there's anything I could do, I'd be happy to work with you on kind of developing that ordinance and trying to figure out the tree part of it. I don't know anything about pollination, so I don't think I could do much in that area, but I'd be happy to kind of do the tree part of it and work on that ordinance. Maybe we could figure out a way to make it so that it's not just your responsibility, but it's spread amongst other inspectors. And then they can figure out how to better staff the city to make it the most efficient thing as possible.
Yeah. And yeah, right now too, like my tree ordinance and like the weed pollinator ordinance, they're two completely separate.
Yeah. All right.
Another element here is if the penalties for noncompliance are stricter, you can count on better documentation being submitted out of the gate by developers who, maybe they got dinged once and they're like, oh man, I don't want to go through that again. They'll do a better job up front, and that probably will make your life quite a bit easier from an inspection standpoint. Still, it sounds like you'll still have the final that you'll have to deal with, and measuring each of the trees on the property. But if the status quo is that they can kind of get out of any of their problems for $350 per tree, I don't know any of the developers in my neighborhood personally, but I can guarantee none of them will care at $350 a tree. So, $1,000, $2,000 times 2 or 3 trees, that starts to become a meaningful item in their P&L on the job, and they'll start to submit better documentation up front.
I agree.
So Grace or Hilda, Hilda, do you want to take over the meeting then? So you're now here.
No, Michelle, I maybe it's better to you. You keep on leading the meeting. I have to leave early, so I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So does anyone have any more questions for Luther?
I do.
Go for it.
What procedure or what does council and the mayor have in order to change these fees? And are they willing to change the fees to try to help? Well, not just Luther, but in general, just the city, to keep construction companies and or landowners from just chopping down these trees.
I think, for now, my is whatever we propose, they'll approve. Is my feeling. Like I said, 4 or 5 years ago, we had nothing. This has been this new, tree protection ordinance has been around for 5 years now, and I think with the climate action plan being adopted and everything else, I think that whatever we come up with and suggest, they'll be all for it. And I'm sure they'll have some some revisions, and I think it'll be figuring out actual prices for the buyout and stuff, and then the size requirements for tree replacements. But as far as I'm concerned, all these builders with they can build a house, they can plant a bigger tree, they can build a house, they can put up a bigger tree fence to preserve the trees that are already there on the lot. And so I think it's it's not that much more work or a burden for them, and what some other cities already have and require are far exceed our ordinance. And they all they're not only building in Edina, they're building all these other cities too. They can figure it out.
Question on piggyback on that is, would the change in penalties apply only to new construction tearing down trees? Or, for example, like, older trees that are starting to die that need to be cut down? What is the procedure there?
So currently in my ordinance, there's also, they're supposed to give me the species of tree, size of tree, and then a condition rating of the tree. The condition rating is subject to the forester's review. So my review, currently, I usually disagree. I'd say, I don't know, 90% of the time with their condition rating. They'll put it as poor so that they can remove the tree. It doesn't have to be removed. My only conditions of poor are like literally a diseased tree that is actively diseased with Dutch elm, oak wilt, emerald ash borer. As far as deciduous trees go, anything else, if it still has leaves and is growing, unless there's like a crack or it's hazardous, I'm going to make them replace that. And then 2, for coniferous trees, they'll a lot of times we get spruce here in Minnesota. I call them Minnesota palm trees. The lower branches die. You trim them up. There's just like 10 feet of green at the top. They'll put those as a condition rating as poor or like a dead tree. As long as there's green on that conifer, that tree is alive and growing in my book, and I'm requiring them to replace that. And so that's like the other area I get a lot of pushback from builders, and they'll say it's dead, and I'm like, it's still growing, there's still green up there, that's alive. And so I require those to be replaced. And sometimes that does make them reconsider cutting it down, and they'll try and protect it because like a lot of time those are on the edges of the property, as you know, the natural buffer, natural fencing they had from, you know, decades ago, and the trees, you know, still there, but most of it is dead. But in my opinion, that's still a live living tree, and I will require that to be, you know, replaced. And so all of those are, you know, subject to my review currently.
So then moving forward on this work plan initiatives, Luther, you would like us to kind of gather some best practices, confer with you, see what you like between all of us, come up with something, and whether or not we're writing the ordinance ourselves or if we're giving you all the info and somebody makes it into this ordinance document. But is that basically what you would like from us? And that seems to satisfy what our work plan is asking for us to do, the deliverable.
So yeah, I would love to see you guys propose to council some amendments to the ordinance. I've amended the ordinance once. I did it a year ago just to add ash trees to the list of trees that can be removed and do not have to be replaced because of them. So a lot of builders, you know, they would build this huge giant house. There'd be a big ash tree in the backyard that they could have cut down when the house was demolished and there was nothing there, and it maybe would cost $1,000 or $2,000. Now that they built this house and the tree gets emerald ash borer and has to be removed, and it costs $10,000 to crane the tree out up over the house. And so like I did that last year, and that went over pretty easy with council. But I'd love to, yeah, kind of have you guys come up with recommendations to amend the ordinance, and it'd be kind of that legacy heritage tree part, something, you know, for the neighbors protection, you know, better protection for neighbors, and then that, you know, a graduated pay scale for replacement trees that, you know, costs a lot more than what it costs currently. Because those are the biggest complaints I get, and I think, you know, that's where I'd like to see, you know, the changes made, you know, with my current ordinance.
Great. So Grace, we have people that are assigned to that initiative, correct? So do you create a
Michelle,
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You know, Luther, I know we talk, and I know you have told me everything all about this, and I didn't mention it to the EC because I knew you were coming, so I just wanted them to hear from you, because I did have I did share for them the document with some of them, so they know, some of the group know. So I just want to clarify this, Michelle, because I had talked with Luther and I sent information. So, but since Grace told me that he was coming today, I wanted that everybody hear from him what he needed. So the initiative is there. I think I am in there. Tom is in there, and I think you are in there. So if anybody wants to join, yeah,
I'd be happy to join.
We like, I think because there's not only trees, there's also the part of the lawns, and there's a part of the pollinator. So I guess we really need we really need members here to work with this. So sorry to interrupt, Michelle, but I just wanted to make it clear.
Should we separate I mean, I know it's all under one work plan, but do we want to have different people work on different things to concentrate on them, or work out at the same time, or work one at a time?
I guess that will be the correct thing, because I know, you know, I know Tom is interested in working in trees, and now Terry's mentioning that also, and I know you're working in pollinators, so I can work in the other part in lawns. So I guess I would love to work in trees, but if two of them are already working, I think we need to, I think if we divide, we will conquer, and we'll be able to provide more information to Luther, because he doesn't have the staff to do it. So yeah, we can do that. If I don't know, Grace, if you're okay, if we are 4 of us working on that.
Yep. Yeah, 5 commissioners is a quorum, so you just can't have 5 in a room or on an email chain, but 4 is fine. And student commissioners do not contribute to quorum, so both Ava and Sharish can be a part of any group that you have.
Ava was also interested, but I'm not sure if she's still interested in which of the 3 topics she wants to work, but I think the more the merrier. So
yep, both Ava and Sharish have their names on that initiative, so we can coordinate with them.
Okay, thank you.
I like that idea, Hilda. Terry, I'd like to partner with you on the tree side of it. I think we need to do some research. We need to support Luther and figure out what other cities are doing in terms of legacy trees. I wholeheartedly agree. It makes a lot more sense to stop bulldozing trees and try and talk about improving the green space through climate action plan. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be had there. Maybe we can we'll partner with you, Luther, to figure out what the right formula is. Maybe you kind of limit the amount of trees that go down, or if you have to replace trees, they have to coincide with a certain amount of greenhouse gas emission reduction or something like that. I'm sure we could come up with that, because replacing, to your point, a mature tree of 50 or 100 years is not the same as a 2 or 3 inch seedling or a smaller tree. Happy to take that one on.
So anything else on this portion? All good. Well, Luther, we really appreciate your coming and presenting, and we hope we can get some help for you. And
Michelle, I'm sorry again to interrupt. So just quickly, because I know he also wants some help in the lawn part. So I don't know if you want to talk quickly about that, because I know you were thinking about an ordinance, but Grace told me that the idea has changed. So I don't know if you can briefly talk about that to all of the commissioners.
Go quick on that.
Sorry.
No problem. And so I also am in charge of the city weed inspector and the weed inspection program in the city. Currently in Edina, once your grass or lawn gets to 10 inches or longer, and I get a complaint about it, we are out there, we send you a notice, we get days to comply, basically mow your lawn, or after 10 days, we come out there, we do it for you, and we assess you for it. And it's still, pretty cheap. It's my overtime rate, which is $75 an hour, plus a $30 administrative fee. I've got probably about 10 to 15 lots that, every year we are their lawn service. No one else mows their lawn. The city mows their lawn 4 times a summer, and we assess them. They pay the assessments, and, that's it. And so, that's fine. But with the climate action plan, some discussions come up about no mow May. There are some cities that do that, and it's for the pollinators. And so in the month of May, when all the pollinators are coming out, they need flowers. They need anything to get their food. And so instead of requiring lawns to be mowed in May, I'd like to see an amendment to that ordinance, that would encourage no mow May to help the pollinators. The way I think this would work best, obviously I get, my weed inspector, myself, we get lots of complaints when anyone's lawn gets long. I've got my regular flyers that complain about everything. And, we deal with that. And so I think it would make sense to kind of handle this like our current fire ordinance. So if you're not familiar with that, currently, in order to legally have a fire at your residence in Edina, you need a fire permit. You have to go online, fill out a form. It's all free. And you can print off your permit and display it at your house. Anytime you have a fire, legally, you're supposed to call the fire department and let them know you're having a fire. So if they get a call, they can say, oh, yep, that's a permitted fire. We know what's going on there. We're not going to come investigate that. So for no mow May, I think it would make sense to make my job in life easier. If we have the same thing, you go online, you register your house for no mow May. If I get a complaint from someone else on your address, I look on my list. Oh, they're on there. They're participating in no mow May. That grass that's over 10 inches long is fine until the end of May. Oh, this house, they're not on here. Oh, this is one of my regulars. We'll give them a notice. We'll give them 10 days. If they don't do it, I will come out and do it for them. And so that's, I guess, kind of the basics for no mow May, just to try and help pollinators out as much as possible. I know on the park side, we're trying to find weird areas. We mow so much stuff right now. We own so much property in the city, and we're stuck mowing all this stuff where it doesn't make sense. We're mowing lots of MnDOT and Hennepin County property right now because they don't do it, and they wouldn't get to it except maybe like once a summer, but that's not up to our standards. And so that's another thing we're trying to do on the park side is find areas that we're mowing and stop mowing them. Why do we have to mow these? It makes no sense a lot of the time. We're trying to get bigger buffers around our wetlands and lakes and ponds too, and stop mowing that kind of stuff. And so that same thing with the climate action plan. It all kind of works together in my opinion, and is another initiative that I think that we could get done before my tree ordinance, honestly, and would be something that would benefit the the pollinators and help the city on our side too. Just like I think the kind of that educational piece that people don't know and don't understand and don't get, as to why you wouldn't mow and the benefits that's actually providing, opposed to what everyone normally thinks of. And most people, honestly, in Edina, they have a land care company that comes and does their lawn for them and fertilizes it, puts chemicals down on it, and they're not doing any of that maintenance themselves. And just trying to educate people on the benefits of not doing that. Is that brief enough for you?
Yeah, thank you.
Could the city get away with no mow with their properties?
Currently, we are converting lots of areas to pollinator friendly, grasses and stuff. And, we are having more and more spots where we're not mowing. I live right here on the border of Edina and Richfield, in Richfield Parks. They are mowing maintenance strips, and so they'll mow by the sidewalk, by the path at some of their parks. They'll have a path going to the tennis court, but everything else they are not doing. I believe for them it started during COVID and was part of staffing shortages. And like I've talked with them, like, how can you guys get away with this? Not get complaints. They're And so I think that's the other big difference. Our residents are not, and we get complaints on that kind of stuff. So I think having an ordinance that would back that up and support us would, be a benefit to the city as well, and give us, look right here, this is why we're not doing this. As opposed to, okay, we'll be over there tomorrow and we'll take care of it, which is, what we're kind of doing now.
Is there anything else?
Thank you.
Oh, could you do like a rolling type thing? I'm just throwing this out. Sorry, maybe it's the wrong time. Like a rolling thing where like this part of the city is not mowing for a part of the year, and then you kind of rotate it around, so you only get complaints in this part. You get complaints all the time, but you only get them in one part of the city at one time.
Or maybe for like our initial rollout or attempt or something, there are definitely some areas of the city I'd be more inclined to try and do that over. I'd like to see it an all encompassing for the entire thing. And it's like, right now we already have the capacity to do what we're doing and keep up with that. I know my guys would probably love not having to mow MnDOT and Hennepin County property and only mow City of Edina property and stop doing that. And same thing, I know, we would love to, some of the spots we go do like a down back maintenance strip and not do everything else in there. And like, a lot of these areas too, we own a lot of property that butts up to wetlands and water edges and stuff like that. And where it would be a big benefit, not to mow that, just for the, creation of everything that's going into those water bodies and stuff. And it would make our life easier. I know right away at the beginning it'd be bad. I'd be getting tons of calls and stuff, but I think that educational piece, that's a big part of it for me too. That's a big part of what I already do, is educating residents on stuff that they're just not aware of and don't know about in the tree world. And I think same thing in the weed world. We could definitely use that here in the city as well.
Okay, so do I thank Luther now? We're all good. Luther, thanks so much, and hopefully we can help you out with both of those initiatives.
Just so you guys know, feel free to reach out, send me an email or give me a call. I'm more than happy to, discuss this with anyone about questions at all. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask me.
Really appreciate it. Appreciate all the work you do by yourself. Thank you. Thank you for your passion for our trees.
Hey,
And-
Michelle.
Thank you, Luther.
Help me
Okay.
and stuff.
Go ahead, Tom.
Right now, they're all ice for our ice rinks and stuff. So we've got our priorities are on hockey in the winter. So it is it is just me, but I do have other guys that that help me, and I couldn't do it without them. And when I need help, my bosses and supervisors are very accommodating and give me what I need. But I would love to get some actual help where I know I can rely on them 24/7 and that they're my my public service worker, and they're not going to be out mowing lawns or making ice and doing all the other stuff that we have to do. But no, thank you guys a lot. I appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to have this talk, and look forward to continuing the discussion.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right.
Take care.
Tom, you had something?
No, I was just thinking about the No Mow May program. I was just thinking about the only way it's going to work is if we, have a plan in place that we can be communicating by mid-April at the latest, ideally maybe a little bit earlier. So maybe by the time we have our March meeting, we should have kind of an overarching plan roughed out, or it's not going to happen.
Yeah, on that, I was going to mention that when we enter the
Next topic.
work group, the work plan.
Yeah.
But I will say, no, I'll mention it now. Yeah, that was one of the things that we were discussing with Luther, Boss, and Grace, is that maybe since this is a first time that they want to implement this in the city, we shouldn't go for an ordinance. Let's try to pass a resolution, like this is our first initiative. And to do that, as you mentioned, Tom, we need to have a resolution draft by, I think it's March, right? For the next meeting. Is that correct? So we need, because in order for all of you to agree with, and then it goes to the city council and the city councils approve it. So yes, you're right. We have the time on us. I've been discussing this with Grace, so I start working on that, but maybe when we go to the initiative number 1, we can discuss how can maybe Michelle and I work on that and you and Terry work on the trees or something like that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, so moving on to initiative number 7. Grace, and for some reason on my agenda thing, there's an error in the link to that. So Grace, do you have?
Yeah, initiative number 6, part A, is going to be the natural habitat, which we've talked about a lot already. So there may be, it's open, whatever you all want to say.
So I guess the only thing I should add for that one, because we have discussed it a lot during the meeting, is that we have identified who wants to work on that. So I guess, as I mentioned, I think Tom and Terry wants to work on 3, and I can work with Michelle because she is interested in working with pollinators, and the No Mow May thing has to do with that. So we can try to work together, the 2 of us and Terry and Tom. I don't know if that will work. I guess we can try to have a meeting, the 4 of us, in a certain time to discuss how we want to do it, but I think that's the way to go. And if Ava and Sharish want to join, that could be great.
That makes sense. Yeah, we could all meet together and then kind of divide and conquer at that point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So next, Grace, is it the ETC report?
It should be the multifamily organics.
Oh, I apologize.
No worries. So we have multifamily organics, and we should be, I think, Hilda, you had some information to share about how to accomplish this initiative.
Okay, so in this initiative, I know it's a little what Twyla wants to do. It's a little bit different from what is there. So Twyla is hiring somebody that will help her identify the number of multifamily buildings in Edina that are already participating in the organics program, and trying to identify new ones to include in the program. So what she is requesting for us, for the commission, is to help her out in, doing the presentations to these new buildings. Like she will train whoever is interested and maybe help her out with 1 or 2 presentations, depending who is interested. So I know that this initiative, it doesn't have a lead and it doesn't have any participants. So I just want to ask if anybody wants to lead it and if anybody is interested in helping out Twyla in this initiative.
I'd be happy to help. I have a lot of clients who own multifamily properties. I'm probably not the best leader on this deal, but I'm happy to help doing presentations.
Oh, that's great.
I might not already know some of the people, so it might be easy.
Okay, yeah, I can also help in this one. And I was thinking maybe Bayardo, you will be interested in helping out or maybe leading it.
I can definitely help without a doubt. I don't know about leading it, but definitely help.
I'll co-lead if someone will co-lead with me.
I can lead it. I can lead it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we have 3-1. Okay. So yeah, we can also maybe send some emails between us and agree with Thailand what the next steps will be. Thank you.
Grace, okay, so I apologize. Like on the agenda I'm looking at on the side where it's like an online version, it has that number 7 initiative on there. But when I went to the PDF agenda, I see that it's not. So I actually did want to kind of mention the thing about the pollinators and the resolution that we talked about. And so I apologize that I kind of missed that. Can I throw that in?
Yep.
And is there any way to actually share the resolution, Grace, or
I can screen share it. Is that what you'd like?
yeah, if you don't mind? Because I do want you guys to know about this resolution. I don't know if anybody here actually knows that in 2020 the city passed a resolution to be, pollinator friendly, and so I dug up the resolution, and I do kind of want to read. There's 6 commitments that basically the city has made, and I want to read them because 1, we all should know about it. 2, all the residents should know about it. And 3, we also need to make sure the city is, complying. And they are doing a lot. Like Luther said, they're actually tracking on their lawnmowers where they are mowing and the times they're mowing, because they are trying to reduce the areas that have to be mowed. So they are doing a lot. And I think the city or the residents need to know what they're doing and know what they plan on doing. So these are the 6 commitments, and they say the city shall. So these are things that they should be doing or say they want to be doing. Like the first one is to comply with they have a turf management plan, and they use this integrated pest management plan. And these are all things that kind of are best practices to promote and protect pollinators and natural habitat. And they've committed to, reduce the use of pesticides, particularly systemic. I would like to know what they've been doing to do that. And again, they've done a lot of that converting already to natural habitat, but I would like to get more updates on just what they continue to do, because I think it's fair for us to know what they are doing and then just to push them to make sure they keep doing it. And I think they need, it would be nice to get a report occasionally. And I don't know if it's just a casual thing like Luther, just coming in and telling us, or if it needs to be formal, but it would be nice to hear, kind of like Jessica does once a year with water, if we could have something similar. But again, and then they say they're going to try and communicate to residents and businesses, and I don't think that has happened. And then like that last one, just make sure that they have some information somewhere on the website about pollinators and natural habitat. So I just wanted all of us to be aware of what's there, what the city is already committed to, and just make sure we, hear from them and help them and have us help us get the word out too. So that's all I wanted to point out, pollinators.
Can we ask somebody from Parks and Rec to report back on this and what they've been doing since it was adopted almost 2 years ago? I feel like that would be an appropriate topic for March.
Yeah, and you know, Grace, we do have Tom coming in. Is it in March, Grace?
That's correct.
Yeah, and
who's Tom?
What's his?
He's our assistant parks director or the weed inspector, depending on what hat he's wearing. But he'll be able to speak to.
Is he planning to speak to this?
Yes.
So, but I just want to make sure that I don't think anybody knew about it, and I think it's a commitment that the city made and is committed to it. But I just want to, again, that communication thing. I want more people to know. And then, like I said, it's nice because it does tie into our No Mow May. So, okay, back on track. Sorry about that. So where are we now? I've got to keep jumping back and forth. Sorry.
So we should now be looking at the plastic bag policy.
Plastic bag policy. So I can talk to that. We have written up the green print that is a call for volunteers, so we can create a working group. And I believe the working group is the right way to go because we have people in the community that are not just on the commission who have been really interested in this topic for a long time. And Ukasha, people in your community are very passionate about this, and I hope that you can convince some of them to be a part of the working group. And then we have an 8th grader who contacted me who is all excited about doing something, and so she was pretty excited that she could have an opportunity to be on the working group. So I think that's exciting to have an 8th grader participate. So we can start, and I've emailed people. I appreciate you getting back to me. Kind of, we're going to try and start just the commissioners that are on this working group to work, do some little legwork and research on the report that we have, and then open it up and have our volunteers join us. So we're going to try and get this rolling. So the basic thing is just we're going to update the report, and then we have to recommend what we think. This report was created without a recommendation, so we will decide what to recommend. And I don't know, any other questions for me on that? Right. So, monthly call for communication requests.
One thing, Michelle, sorry, on the plastic bag green print, this doesn't need to be moved and approved by the EEC, and then we'll put the call out. So if we have a motion and a second to approve.
So we need a motion to approve the working group, a creation of a working group.
So moved.
Second.
Excellent, passes. A roll call?
Commissioner Haugen?
Aye.
Commissioner Haran?
Aye.
Commissioner Lanzis?
Aye.
Commissioner Hovanek?
Aye.
Commissioner Lukens?
Aye.
Commissioner Tessman?
Aye.
Commissioner Ducane?
Aye.
And Commissioner Martinez?
Aye.
Great, thank you. So, Michelle, do you want me to speak to the communications?
Yes, please.
As we discussed last month, for all of our different initiatives, the communications line is open. You can always email me your request for communications, social media, op-ed, press release, etc. for the initiatives that you're leading or are involved in. But this is a time for you to discuss it as a group if you need to, if there's anything that needs to be discussed.
Do we want to get one for No Mow May crafted? Do we need to do it ourselves, or can we have them help with that?
So
Go ahead,
Grace,
Hilda. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things Grace and I discuss is that it's easier that each of us, like as a leader or the ones participating in each of the initiatives, like do their own communications. So, well, being said that, I guess that the No Mow, I think what we need to do more is to promote at this point the pollinator part, because like now they're opening some funding. Michelle just sent us one, and I think those are the things we need to promote before we promote the No Mow May. So I guess that for each initiative, we need to come with what we need to what we want, what channels do we want to use, and give them to Grace, and Grace will help us out to get it to the right person. So yeah, that's it.
So as far as that, like the pollinators and getting that in communications, does anybody, so, you know, we talked about 4 of us getting together. Does anybody else want to join that and work on the communications with us?
Are you talking about just writing this stuff up? Like,
yeah, or yeah, kind of coming up and just helping, like looking through when the communications need, what they need, and then yeah, and helping us craft some of that.
I'm happy to help with it. Like, do you want to do it like we do with the other
Yeah, that was kind of brilliant.
initiative, where you just kind of write your thoughts down and then I kind of, or,
Yeah.
I mean, I can try. Just I'm not the best at understanding what the concept is, but
We'll rope you in, Terry.
I could do that part of it.
All right.
And
Great.
keep in mind the presentation you received last month, as well as the one pager that was emailed to you a week or so ago, that the communications department will often craft the actual text. The EEC's job is to choose the channel that you want to use and the topic. So you don't have to write all the social media posts, you don't have to find all the images, but you do need to ask, you do need to make the request on the topic and the media within the time frame that communications has indicated they need it. So not as big a lift maybe as it sounds.
Okay.
Okay, great. Anything more on the communications? Any requests? Anything else we should discuss about it? All right. Then the annual chair, vice chair nominations selection. Grace, I'll let you lead on that.
Yep, the election process, thanks, Michelle. The election process is in the introduction of this agenda item. So a quorum must be present. We have a quorum tonight. The current Board or Commission Chair opens the floor for nominations. So Chair Martinez or Vice Chair Haran, either of you can do that. It's an open nomination, so anyone can make a nomination for themselves or someone else for Chair and or Vice Chair. And then we'll take a vote on anyone that is nominated, and whoever gets the most votes becomes the chair and vice chair.
I nominate Hilda and Michelle.
Anybody else want to nominate anyone? Okay.
Do you guys want to do it? Do we want people to let us know if they want to do it?
I'm happy to do it.
I'm happy to do it, but
Okay.
if you want to step in, Corey,
No. I wasn't doing that.
But I don't know.
was making sure that
I
you
think
guys,
you have a lot in
if
your
you're getting-
plate right now.
yeah. I was just making sure if you guys were being volunteered, that you guys wanted to be volunteered. So I will second that as well. That's great.
So now is there a vote or?
We make sure that there are not any, that those are the only nominations, and then we'll go through a vote.
So don't
Don't
be
we do
shy.
this for not it? We would do this. Get out.
If we're ready
Okay.
for a vote, we can take a vote.
All right, if we're no other people stepping up, let's take a roll call or a vote.
Great. Commissioner Haugen.
Aye.
Commissioner Haran.
Aye.
Commissioner Lanzis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hovanek.
Aye.
Commissioner Lukens.
Aye.
Commissioner Tessman.
Aye.
Commissioner Takane.
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez.
Aye.
Okay. Another year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your trust.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
the same thing.
Thanks for stepping up.
Okay, so chair and member comments. Any chair or member comments? Please say no.
I have
Yeah,
several comments.
No, but let me just quickly before you, John, before you start, I just want to how do you say the word? I don't know. I wish that Soraya and Ava, I wish if you, I don't want to pressure you, but come on, you should, I want you to, for you to participate. So please really don't feel, I don't know, I just feel free to say your thought and participate more. I just want you to enjoy and learn from this. So I just want to invite you to participate more. And if you want to also be part of any of the initiative, it would be great to have you. So yeah, that's my only comment.
Okay, I think I'm like on the plastic bag initiative and like 2 others, but yeah.
I think I'm also on some of the initiatives, and I think in the future I'd probably be cooperating more depending on how we like work on some projects and initiatives.
And Sharash is also on Project Earth, and he's gonna. I went to one of their meetings and I called. I put him on the spot, but he's going to be a connector for some of the initiatives as well for us. So, but any other comments on that? John, you had something?
Yeah, I have a few things I need to update everyone on. So one of our work plan items is to coordinate with other cities' commissions. And I am on a steering committee for a conference that's going to be taking place on April 30th, which is expressly for commissions across the state. So anyone that's a commissioner in any city that has an environment or energy commission is going to be invited, including all of you. I'd love to have all of you there, or at least many of you there, realizing it's a Saturday, but it is not spring break. We chose wisely. It's not Easter. It's not all the difficult ones in April. So it's about 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's at Ridgedale Library. The format, it's going to be 3 topics, a 15-minute presentation, followed by about a 45-minute small group discussion. And the topics are still in formation, and actually looking to kind of get some feedback or ideas on topics or speakers that you think might be interesting to kind of kick off a topic. What we have at this point is the climate emergency declaration and the group that spearheaded that, trying to get additional cities engaged in that and also discuss sort of why it matters and what's next. Another idea is the Center for Energy and Environment, which presented to us on the sustainable buildings policy. To have somebody from that group speak about decarbonization and electrification in Minnesota, what that means for cities and for residents within cities, talking about specific technologies like heat pumps, or just speaking in general about the grid, or sort of kicking off that topic. And there are other ideas kind of kicked around by other members of the steering committee. But I would love if anyone has a topic that's specific to Minnesota or specific to any issues that we touch that you think other commissions, something like pollinators. We heard from the salting group. That would be another example. Anything like that you think would be impactful and speak at like sort of an intercity level. Please feel free to either email me or email Grace, and she can get that to me. Also, speakers, anybody that you think would be available and open to speak on a topic for 15 minutes that's of that caliber, be appreciated. Second thing is the Transportation Commission reached out to me because of our work on the organized trash collection. and they have on their work plan a policy for to create a policy for boulevard trees, and they were seeking some informal feedback, not for them as a quorum, but just the group of folks working on this work plan item. They were seeking some informal feedback, and the participation would look like something in person or maybe virtual within the next 2 to 3 weeks, like an hour-long meeting to discuss what their thoughts are and to offer a perspective from somebody on our commission, likely based on what we just talked about with Luther. So I'm happy to do that. I also wanted to just bring that to anyone who's interested. Same deal. If you're interested, reach out to Grace, and I'm happy to connect you with the folks there. So feel free to let me know, and if no one reaches out, I'll just do it. And then the third, it wouldn't be a meeting without me talking about organized trash collection for a moment. The city did hire an attorney to review the statute, and I do enjoy being correct, but I was correct about how the whole process goes down, and how the sequence is so weird. But it does make this whole thing a little bit more difficult for everybody. So my memo was right. That's confirmed. The ETC, the Transportation Commission, put out an advisory communication to council. Basically, it was half a page. It was like, hey, keep going. This is important. My opinion, and then, if somebody feels strongly about this, email Grace, she'll email me, or just email me directly if you have my contact information. I think we should hold back and just sort of see what happens over the next month or two, see if council does anything, see if staff does anything, and determine, maybe in April, if there's a next step, maybe we try an advisory communication at that point in time, or do some sort of op-ed. But I think we need to kind of let this play out a little bit, because they essentially did what we were hoping they would do with that advisory communication that I drafted last month. They already did it, so it's great. So I guess, I don't know, Grace, do you have any update on this item, organized trash collection?
Thanks, John. Not beyond what I emailed to the group on Monday, which is that council received this legal brief about a week ago, and the city manager is talking with them one-on-one and then as a group, likely in the next week, to determine what next steps they want to take, if any. So we should know by month's end where council stands, certainly by the next EEC meeting.
And when you say as a group, does that mean in a public forum, or what? Like, how does that? Will we be notified when that's happening, and how can we observe it?
Let me get back to you. I'll
Okay.
confirm with the city manager and let everyone know ASAP. Yeah, good
I
question.
think if you could express to the city manager that it's really important that this, all of these as many of these conversations as possible happen with our knowledge and input, or at the very least visibility, that'd be appreciated, because it's not fair for us to have to dig for it, and it'd be better to just have this all out there.
Yep. Yeah, thanks.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Congratulations on being right, John. When I'm right, so good for you. Well done.
I'm glad I'm not a lawyer. I'm still glad I'm not a lawyer.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Hilda.
Grace, regarding the climate action plan implementation, based on what we present and what was approved by the city council in December, the city manager the city must present us in March an implementation plan. Is that correct? So I guess
it's coming in March. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. Okay. So okay, perfect. Yeah, just want to know where was that. Okay, thank you.
Other comments? Does that mean we're ready for your report, Grace?
Sure. So just a few things from me. To John's point, I can share any invitations widely that come out. So whether that's for the coordinating with other commissions on that April 30th event or anything else that comes your way. As always, just send it to me and I can send it to the group. And that helps us avoid the public meeting conflicts. So just keep that in mind. I'm always here. John, I'll send you a note about this separately, but you'll see it. City Council receives what's called a Friday report every Friday from the city manager, and those are public on the website. It's just kind of a bulleted list of what the city's been up to. You'll see this week that Edina has joined a learning cohort through the Rocky Mountain Institute. We are in a small group with Minneapolis, St. Louis Park, and Eden Prairie, but it's a national cohort of 15 other geographies that are focused on electrification and learning and then doing a campaign for heat pump adoption in cold climates. So Center for Energy and Environment is one of our community partners on that, but that might be something that is, that learning cohort might be something of interest for you for this April 30th event. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Other events, April 23rd is Earth Day weekend, and the city is hosting its first clothing swap that Saturday morning from 10 until 2, actually. The Organics Department, the Parks Department, and the Sustainability Department are all partnering to offer this clothing swap at Braemar Arena. And you'll start to see promotion for that in the next week or so. You'll also see it in the new Parks Activities Directory, which I think goes live tomorrow. So keep that in mind if you're looking to celebrate Earth Day. You can come donate clothes, barter, get some other clothes, and have a good time, hopefully. Next month, we will have a new EEC member joining us. Interviews are underway now. I think the city received 100 applications for 15 commission positions. All 100 applicants are interviewing with city council members and the mayor. So we'll have that new person joining in early at our March 10th meeting, and they'll have met with Chair Martinez ahead of that introduction. As we've alluded to already, we're going to receive 2 presentations next month. One will be from Tom Swenson, who is the Assistant Parks Director. He's going to speak to the pollinator resolution as well as the city's turf management plan, offer an update on both of those things to help inform the Commission's initiative number 1. And as a side note, I'll send an email. I think that this went out already once before, but we do have a number of staff presentations scheduled for the first half of the year. And so I'll send that out so everyone knows kind of what to expect each month. We're going to hear from Public Works in April and Water in July, Organics in August. So we have quite a few other presentations coming up to inform the work plan. You also will receive the year 1 implementation plan from the city. I will likely be the one giving that presentation, but it will be accompanied by a letter from the city manager, giving it credentials and showing his attention and participation in it, even as I don't think he will actually be able to attend. Last thing, expect for our March meeting to be in person. The virtual meeting declaration by council was for January and February. Council has not yet met to extend or end that virtual meeting declaration. We don't expect that they will extend it. So expect that March will be in person. And just a reminder that attendance we expect that you attend 75% of meetings and that absences come up, people travel, etc. So no worries if you're not able to join 1 or 2 meetings. And that covers it for me.
So I think all is left is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. A roll call then?
Yes, Commissioner Haugen.
Aye.
Commissioner Haran.
Aye.
Commissioner Lanzis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hovanek.
Aye.
Commissioner Lukens.
Aye.
Commissioner Tessman.
Aye.
Commissioner DeCane.
Aye.
And Chair Martinez. Great.
Sorry. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend coming up.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Michelle,
Well done.
for taking the lead. Thanks.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Good night.